So welcome everybody to this webinar where today we're going to go through 5 ways to help your organization become more data driven. My name is Andrew Edge. I work for Simpson Associates, who are a partner of Bytes as a data arm. So the things that we like to focus on to help organizations become more data driven are data strategy and governance, strategic versus tactical approaches, proof of value, and minimal viable product approaches, understanding the data culture and how to change that for the better to deliver on your outcomes, and data quality, and sometimes master data management is really important. So I'm just going to go through each of these 5 ways that can help your organization become more data driven. So who are Simpson Associates? We're a Microsoft Gold partner focusing in the data space. We've been a Microsoft Gold partner for well over 12 years, and our company's just celebrated its 30th birthday. We do everything from looking at data solutions and data strategies. All the things I'm talking today about, the 5 ways, is something that we can help you with in terms of understanding where you need to be and where you'd like to be to deliver on your outcomes, and designing the architectures and the approach that's extensible to deliver on those things, through to master data management and data quality solutions, and actually delivering on that integration and data consolidation and data reporting work as well. We also do some work in the Internet of Things, data and analytics, which is really super important, and as is visualization. So we do a lot of work in Power BI and developing solutions for that reporting. And planning and forecasting as well. We've got solutions that can help you understand exactly kind of what your forecasts and plans look like, with some really sophisticated tools that really help you do that whole process very efficiently. Through to data science, some application development, training, and we also offer full managed service and support functions. Now we can work in all manner of ways with companies, and we're finding that there's a mix of people that want us to do full delivery and ownership of those data platforms and reporting, through to people that want to do stuff in co-development and in collaboration, or actually indeed just simply doing that data strategy and that advice and setting up a foundation for the internal teams to be able to deliver on. So there's all manner of ways in which we can work. So that's Simpsons. So the first of the 5 ways is data strategy. And the most important way of being able to explain what a data strategy is by understanding where you are now, where you want to be, and how you get there. We often find many organizations have the how bit well established and really know what kind of direction they're going in, but really don't quite know where they're starting from, and most importantly, where they need to be. So what do we mean by where you need to be? Well, actually, what kind of processes, capability, and technology needs to be in place to meet your strategic outcomes. Now that might seem quite straightforward, and it is, and I think it's a simple exercise for a lot of organisations to be able to establish that and write it down. So, and again, in a common theme we see is that people have established a data strategy across the organisation, but it isn't necessarily succinctly described in a way that all people in the organisation, not just the key leadership team, but in those people who are actually going to live and breathe the strategy and carry it forward as business as usual, understand or can buy into. So your approach to the data strategy and how it manifests itself in a document or a presentation or some kind of one pager that people can understand is really terribly important. So as I say, one of the common pitfalls is focusing on the how bit, which is terribly important, and that can involve the technology. But we do, as I say, often find that people come to us and say, we've got a data strategy in place. It's to develop a lake house or a data warehouse, or to employ streaming analytics. And that's great, and that's really good to understand, but having flexibility in that how bit to meet those outcomes and having a focused result at the end of it is terribly important. Now we've got many suggestions in which you can develop a data strategy, and what we would often recommend is starting off something quite small and holistic, almost like having a 40,000 foot view of how you what you want to achieve and how you achieve that, rather than going into the depths of the detail of what will be delivered at the end of it. So there are some really straightforward things you can do to achieve creating a data strategy in a handful of days, we believe, rather than it being a long drawn out process. So the second way, if you like, that we find is useful is looking at stuff strategically versus tactically. Now, as I'll come on to shortly, many people are adopting a more tactical approach rather than a long drawn out project for delivering on outcomes from a data perspective. Now, neither of these things are necessarily wrong in their own right or right in their own right. It's about making sure that if you make a strategic approach to something, or you deliver in a strategic way or a tactical way that is, again, aligned to the business outcomes, and there's a good rationale for achieving that. And often we find that people don't like the word tactical because it suggests that something's not going to be carried forward. It's something that is throwaway almost, and that's simply not the case if you approach it in the right manner. So this way really involves, if you are going to do something tactically, it really involves making sure that you've got elements to it that are built on a foundation to do something strategic and more strategic down the line. So an example of that could be that you build out your data platform in a way that it's extensible, and it follows this sort of foundational work in its own right. So best practice. Now, there might well be some re-engineering you have to do on a tactical approach to delivering. But again, what's really important in there is that you communicate that to the business in the right way, so they understand what elements are indeed throwaway, if there is any, and what risk there is regarding taking that tactical approach versus the strategic approach. And again, if you're going to do the strategic approach, it's really important that you understand, going back to the conversation earlier around building a data strategy, it's important you understand where actually you're heading. And I think that's the key thing with both of these. It's actually, we would recommend having a clear roadmap, and how you deliver on that, either strategically or tactically, is delivering pieces again on that roadmap. So everyone is clear where you go will eventually end up, but this is more sort of how you almost slice things up to deliver. So if you've joined us on our data forums or any other webinars, you'll have heard us talk quite a bit around proof of value or minimal viable products. Really hot topic at the moment regarding any kind of digital modernization project, not just data. And proof of values, or proof of concepts, as often people call it, we prefer to call them proof of values, because we believe, as I stated in point two, that it's important that any kind of tactical work or work that's more isolated and discrete delivers some outcome for the organization. It's terribly important that. So a proof of value or a minimal viable product, slightly different concepts, but people use different terms. For what they mean is a small discrete piece of work that is going to deliver some outcome at the end of it to prove certain things. So this might involve prototyping. It might involve creating a slice of your data platform across a particular business function. It might even involve just doing a certain slice vertically in your data pipelines. For example, just ingesting data from data sources to prove that that's feasible and you can deal with that, putting it in an operational data store before you then move on to delivering a kind of more analytical platform using that raw data that's collated. So there's many ways in which you can cut up a proof of value, but why this is a really good way of getting people to buy into stuff is it proves to the business that it's worthwhile. And if in the absence of a data strategy or the absence of kind of a full business case, it can help drive them and get that ball rolling to actually put some return on investment figures against the business case, or indeed to mitigate risks or potential risk of issues that people have in their mind, and most importantly, actually overcome some challenges regarding data culture, which we're going to come on to in a second, because many people do have the view that they don't know, or they're fearful even of actually what the technology is going to bring, how it's going to change the way that they work as well. And that's a key point to this. Proof of values aren't really just about the technology; they are about those processes and those capabilities that I was talking about earlier. So, what do I mean by that? Well, it might prove that you can adopt a different approach to do requirements gathering for reports, or a different way of deploying them in a release process. It might prove that you've got your centralized or decentralized approach to delivering on your analytics is the way forward. So it's not necessarily just about proving that you can build, say, a data platform like a data lake or a data warehouse, whatever it may be. It is actually proving capabilities as well and processes. So that's one bit of advice I think I'd like to proffer to people listening to this is, don't restrict those proof of values or those MVPs just to the technology, improving that works. Now these can be any size. In fact, they can be discrete, uh, 10-day pieces of work that you do just to prove an isolated use case, or they can be more involved in building out the foundations of, say, a data platform or a landing zone or a blank canvas. That's often very, very popular, to then build upon in bite-sized chunks thereafter. But we're finding most of the organizations that we're working with have, in some way, shape, or form, a proof of value or minimum viable product established at the beginning of the project, even if there's a view that they're going to carry on doing a full data platform straight afterwards. This is actually always an important building block in terms of getting the project underway. And it's slightly different from kind of an agile approach. It can involve that kind of project methodology, but it is really about making sure that you've got a certain point, a stake in the ground, a point or a milestone at which you're going to assess the viability and the feasibility and the approach, and you can make decisions on actually how you improve the process going forward as well in terms of delivering on the data platform. So again, proof of value MPV is a very, very a good way to help your organization become more data driven. Data culture. Now, this is one where really there's a lot of people talking about as being either an opportunity or a barrier to succeeding and becoming more data driven as an organization. Now, I'd love to tell you that I have the answer to delivering a better data culture within an organization, but it's really up to what you want to achieve in your business. So first of all, what do we mean by data culture? Well, I think it's really around the attitude as such, and there are some certain processes again, that can mean that you're you've got good data culture if established. So things like data governance and stewardship is just one example, but I think that it stems actually from really understanding whether data is a function within your organization. I'm quite passionate about this because often people talk about driving the data culture from sort of bottom up, and it really needs to come top down from the C-level people and the leadership team in your organization. And dare I say, actually, I think the CEO or that level of person, the person that's actually accountable for the rest of the business, needs to be accountable for data, and that in itself is actually almost a bit of a silver bullet. But I think it's the foundation of how you approach delivering data and a better data culture within your organization. If you don't have that in place and that sponsorship at that level, then unfortunately it is going to be a bit like wading through treacle in terms of delivering on your and becoming more data driven. So, so culture is really about being adopting a kind of an approach that says that the data function or data is as important as marketing, finance, HR, all those other functions. And too often I see people saying, "Oh, well, we haven't really got a good data culture," and that's really because it's not embedded at that kind of functional level, as well as having senior leadership team accountability. So it's seen as something that has the right level of funding and appreciation. It is not just another thing that supports how you do things. It is fundamental to delivering on your strategic objectives. So another common kind of mistake, which is an opportunity, I believe, as well, is where people put too much credence actually on data culture. It's really terribly important, but in the same token, it can't be an excuse for why things don't happen, in our opinion. What do I mean by that? Well, I all too often I see organisations saying, "Well, actually, you know what? Such and such doesn't believe in it," or we've got this huge kind of change program to get people aware of how to use the data properly, or a massive training program because they're not used to using things like Power BI because of you been using Crystal reporting previously or Tableau or something else. So almost it can be used, and fear unfortunately can be used as a bottleneck for making driving data culture and therefore actually becoming more data driven. So my advice would be strike the right balance between kind of helping people along the journey, but also some elements would have to be mandated, and actually, an appreciation that there is a stake in the ground that everybody can achieve, and don't let those things get take control. Is my suggestion. So it's a careful balance, and I appreciate that. There's not always an easy answer, as I said earlier, but it's just worth bearing in mind that it's a bit of both. It's a bit of kind of appreciation that it's important, but it can't really take control of being making things happen essentially. So the next way, or the last way, is data quality. And again, this is one that actually can be taken sometimes a bit too seriously, I think. And it really depends on what you want to try and achieve in a business. People often come to us and say, "Look, Simpsons, we've got a massive problem with our data quality. It's a real issue that people don't believe in the data. There's a lack of trust in the data, and it's all down to this reason, that reason." And I've been in so many meetings on a Monday morning when you're looking at, say, if you're a commercial organisation looking back at trading for the previous week, where arguments ensue around where the data's come from, what it means. Actually, is it the right data? Is it the right definition? I don't believe it is. But, I don't believe it we're performing very well because this is showing X and it doesn't include Y. And really, we do often find that there's only a handful of data quality issues that prevail within an organization. It's a bit of a Pareto. That doesn't mean to say that actually there are organizations out there that don't have a larger data quality issue, but we do often find it's not as bad as one may think. But that's the important thing there, I think, with data quality. If I can proffer an approach and an opinion on this, is making sure that you understand what level of data quality you want to achieve, because it does depend on what the outcomes are. Sometimes it's okay actually to have an accepted level of risk around data quality depending on what the workload is and what you're trying to achieve, but also an accepted understanding where you are with your data quality rather than just anecdotal information, which again, unfortunately, we do hear a lot of. People saying it's rubbish. Well, actually, what is it? What kind of level it is. So we would often make some recommendations about data quality rather than starting off with a full MDM solution and data quality management, data governance, and stewardship from the offset. Design all those things around actually an understanding of where you are. So that could be as simple as doing some data quality assessments within the organization. It could also be about gathering some evidence from subject matter experts as well, because data quality persists as an opportunity and a challenge across every level of the organisation. And actually, that's one of the key points as well, that often data quality, and the reason why people struggle with, say, data governance, is because they believe that as an organisation that's go, well, I tell you what, it's data quality is about data, isn't it? Well, it's part of a system, therefore it's IT's problem, or it's a business intelligence functions problem. Well, that might not be the case. It actually, and I truly believe in this, that the people that own that data are the subject matter experts and the business owners out that are delivering for customers, because those are the people that are inputting, and those are the people who sort of are getting stuff out of line of business systems that contribute to the quality of the data. There are things that people you can put in place, obviously, as an organization from an IT perspective, to say, quality check on input, or indeed through processing and improving it. But actually, the owners of that data quality very much are the business themselves. So really, it's important to capture actually what level of data quality you need within the organization. Now, as a solution, as I say, there's many, many, many ways in which to tackle this, and that's why it's really super important that you understand sort of what you're trying to achieve from it. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's a couple of different ways you can approach data quality in terms of as solutions. And one important thing is to understand actually are the different workloads where different types of data quality approaches are needed. What do I mean by that? Well, you might have reports that are critical to your business, that are driving decisions, that if you get that number wrong has big ramifications. Whereas there might actually be some other kind of work that's about research or prototyping something, or just having a steer strategically on whether something's the right direction from an analytics point of view, where actually it's okay to be there or thereabouts with the data quality. It doesn't have to be perfect. In other words, good is perfect. And I think those are some of the key things that you really need to understand regarding data quality, and that there are different approaches depending on the data, and that extends to governance and all those other things that we often talk about. So those are 5 ways in which your organization can become more data driven. I appreciate that I've covered those off at quite a high level, and we're going to take do a Q&A session now, and we can dive into a bit more of the detail of those into some of those 5 ways if required, and really help your organization understand how to actually implement some of these things as well. And I really appreciate you watching today, and I hope it's been useful. Thank you very much.